Very good evening, participants. I'm very happy this evening. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் இந்த ஈவினிங்ல நம்மளோட விர்ச்சுவல் வேர்ல்டோட ஸ்பெஷல் ப்ரோக்ராம் ஸ்பெஷல் டாக் இது லெஜெண்ட்ஸ் டாக் நம்பர் 2. நம்மளோட லெஜெண்ட் டாக்டர் ரவி செல்லம் இன்னைக்கு நம்ம கூட பேச வந்திருக்கிறாங்க. As you know, he's a line expert. அவங்க லைன் வந்து அவங்களோட it is close to his heart. சார் ஃபார்மலா இன்வைட் பண்ணி சார் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்றதுக்காக நான் நம்மளோட சீனியர் சயின்டிஸ்ட் டாக்டர் டி கணேஷுக்கு நான் இன்வைட் பண்றேன். சார் ப்ளீஸ் வெல்கம் அண்ட் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் டாக்டர் ரவி செல்லம். ஓவர் டு யூ டிஜி சார்.
Yeah, thank you Anthony.
Thank you.
Yes, Anthony சொன்ன மாதிரி in the legend talkல we have one of the very big legend is also called the Lion Man of India. அந்த போஸ்டர் பார்த்தாலே உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும் குட்டி லைன் அவர் பின்னாடி. So he's எங்க வேணா ரவி செல்லம் சொன்னா okay, he's the lion person of India. ஆல்மோஸ்ட் 40 வருஷம் அவர் வந்து இந்த மாதிரி இக்காலஜி காட்டுல எல்லாம் சுத்தி ஆராய்ச்சி பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாரு. இப்போ வந்து பெங்களூர்ல இருக்காரு ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் மெட்டாஸ்ட்ரிங் ஃபவுண்டேஷன். அதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து நிறைய பெரிய பெரிய ஆர்கனைசேஷன்ல வேலை பண்ணாரு. டெல்லியில, டேராடூன்ல, அப்புறம் பெங்களூர்ல. இது வந்து நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா லயன்னு இல்லை, லயன் பத்தி நிறைய சொல்லுவாரு அவரு. லயனுக்காக ரொம்ப நிறைய வேலை பண்ணியிருக்காரு. எப்படி லைனை காப்பாற்றலாம் இந்த ஃபியூச்சர்லன்ட்டு அதை பத்தி டீட்டெயில் அவர் பேசுவாரு. அது தவிர ரவிச்சேலம் வந்து லயனுன்னு இல்லை, சின்ன சின்ன மிருகங்கள், எலியா இருக்கட்டும், இல்லாட்டா அந்த சிவெட்டு பூனையா இருக்கட்டும், இல்லாட்டா பேர்ட்ஸா இருக்கட்டும், இல்லாட்டா இந்த மாதிரி தவளை, பல்லி, பூச்சி, அதெல்லாம் கூட ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டா இருக்கு. அதனால சும்மா லயன் மேன் சொல்றது தப்பு. அவர் வந்து ஒரு கான்சர்வேஷன் இக்காலஜிஸ்ட், இந்தியாவில் ஒரு லீடிங் கான்சர்வேஷன் இக்காலஜிஸ்ட். எங்களோட ஏட்ரியிலும் கொஞ்ச நாள் இருந்தாரு, கொஞ்சம் வருஷம். அது முக்கியமான இது என்னன்னா, எனக்கு எப்பயுமே ரவிச்சேலம் வந்து என்ன உடனே கூப்பிட்டா உடனே வந்துருவாரு. ஒரு இன்சிடென்ட் வந்து, நான் பெங்களூர்ல இந்த கான்சர்வேஷன் பயாலஜி கோர்ஸ்ன்னு கண்டக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன் ஒரு 10 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி நினைக்கிறேன். அப்போ வந்து ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு இன்ட்ரடக்டரி டாக், நாங்க ஒரு சீஃப் சயின்டிஸ்ட் வர வேண்டியதா இருந்தது, வர முடியல. அப்ப வந்து ஒரே ஒரு நாள் டைம் தான் இருந்தது. ரவிச்சேலம் வந்து டெல்லியில இருந்தாரு. நான் ஃபோன் பண்ணி சொன்னேன், இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இது இருக்கு, வந்து கொடுக்க முடியுமான்ட்டு. உடனே ஃபிளைட் பிடிச்சி இருக்கிற ப்ரோக்ராம் எல்லாம் கேன்சல் பண்ணிட்டு உடனே அடுத்த மார்னிங் கரெக்டா அந்த டாக்குக்கு டயத்துக்கு வந்துட்டாரு. அதுல என்ன தெரியுதுன்னா, ரவிச்சேலம் வந்து அவருக்கு வந்து ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டு இல்லாட்டா ஒரு சில்ட்ரனு இல்லாட்டா ஒரு பப்ளிக்கு அவங்களோட இன்ட்ராக்ட் பண்ணி பேசுறது ரொம்ப ரொம்ப இஷ்டம் அவருக்கு. ஸோ அதனால்தான் இந்த டாக்கு கூட இந்த மாதிரி சில்ட்ரனோட, அவங்க பேரண்ட்ஸோட, பாக்கி உங்களோட இன்ட்ராக்ட் பண்றதுக்கு நான் உடனே சொன்ன உடனே அக்ரி பண்ணிட்டாரு. ஸோ அதுதான் ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு நல்ல இது. டாக்டர் ரவிச்சேலம் லயனோட வேலை செய்யறதுனால லயன் மாதிரி ஒரு ரோர் பண்ணி பயப்பட வேண்டாம். அவர் நம்ம ஊரு சயின்டிஸ்ட், கல்லடக்குறிச்சி. அதனால நீங்க சில்ட்ரன்லாம் பயப்படாம என்ன கொஸ்டின் வேணா கேட்கலாம் அவர்கிட்ட. அவர் வந்து இங்கிலீஷ்லயும் ஆன்சர் பண்ணுவாரு, தமிழ்லயும் ஆன்சர் பண்ணுவாரு. அதனால இங்க கவலைப்படாம, என்னான்னு புரியாட்டா கூட உடனே அவரை நிப்பாட்டி ஒரு கொஸ்டின் நீங்க கேட்கலாம். அவரை ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கா சொன்னார் என்கிட்ட, இது மாதிரி கொஞ்சம் இன்டராக்டிவ் செஷனா இருக்கட்டும்ட்டு. ஸோ அதனால நீங்க வந்து ரொம்ப ஃப்ரீயா இருக்கலாம் அந்த டாக்கோட. என்னென்ன உங்களுக்கு வேணுமோ அதெல்லாம் கிளியரா அவர் பேசுவாரு. அதனால சங்கோஜப்படாத நீங்க இந்த கொஸ்டின் எல்லாம் கேட்கலாம். அதோட நான் இங்க முடிச்சுக்கிறேன். Right, Ravi, very warm welcome to this interesting Legends talk. We are very proud of you and to have you here and talk to the children of this region.
Thanks a ton. Thanks for that very generous introduction, Ganesh. Thank you. So, ஆரம்பிக்கலாமா?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
ஆரம்பிக்கலாமா?
அதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரே ஒரு இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன் மட்டும். Facebookல லைவ் ஸ்ட்ரீம் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கிறவங்க சாருக்கு கிட்ட ஏதாவது நீங்க கொஸ்டின் கேட்கணும்னா நீங்க அந்த Facebookலயே நீங்க அதுல கமெண்ட்ல கொஸ்டின்ஸ் டைப் பண்ணலாம். சார் வந்து கடைசியில கொஸ்டின் ஆன்சர் செஷன்ல சார் ஆன்சர் பண்ணுவாங்க.
Okay, அது இங்கிலீஷ்லயும் சொல்லிடலாமே. So those watching on Facebook live stream, if you want to ask questions, you need to put it in the comments table, and then we will pick it up. Tony will pick it up for me later in the day.
Sure, sir.
ஆரம்பிக்கலாமா?
Thank you, sir. Kandipa, sir. Go ahead, sir. This platform is for yours.
தெரியுதா screen?
தெரியுது, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have ஒரு 40 நிமிஷத்துல நான் வந்து Lions-ஓட work which I started in 1985 இன்னி மட்டும் interest-ஓட I'm trying to do certain things. Photographs-ஓட அந்த கதையை சொல்றதுக்கு I'll be trying. அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்மள்ட்ட ஒரு nearly 1 மணி நேரம் இருக்கும் எல்லாம் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்றதுக்கு. Okay, so I want to begin by thanking ATREE, especially Ganesh, Anthony, Madhivanan, and the team for inviting and hosting. It is a little overwhelming to be called a legend. I would like to still consider myself young and a bit naive in this field because the field is so large and there's always enough and more to learn. So lions evolved in Africa. This is the African continent. And Africa the lions, by a process of natural dispersal, moved all the way into India. Now, recent genetic studies have shown that lions, there are two kinds of lions, two subspecies of lions, Panthera leo and Panthera leo melanochaeta. இது எதுக்கு சொல்றேன்னா, very often people ask the question, what is an African lion, what is an Asian lion, and so on. And next few photographs I will try to illustrate that. But recent science, this is only 4 or 5 years old, genetic basis they have categorized all the lions in the world into 2 subspecies. This is a lion from Gir. Lions in many ways are special animals, and particularly for me is a very special animal. And one of the things is they are sexually dimorphic. Appadina male lion apata namakku clear ah theriyarudhu idu male na because eppadi mane irukku. Iduve neenga tiger o leopard o paatha avla easy ah theriyadhu. There are male paklame, peacock and peahen. So peacock and peafowl is also sexually dimorphic. Male is very visibly male, nalla long tail feathers, very colorful. Female is much less colorful, smaller in size, and so on. Adhe mari lions are also sexually dimorphic. So this is a male lion. Here you see a female lion with 2 cubs. There she is with 3 cubs. Now this is a very unusual photograph because you see a male lion, you see a female lion, and you also see cubs. Namma human perspective la paathona typical family eppadi appa amma kolandaigal. The மாதிரி நம்ம வைல்ட் லைஃப்ல எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணக்கூடாது. இட் இஸ் நாட் நார்மல் டு எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் wildlife social organization, how they live together to be similar to what we experience in humans. So this is a very unusual photograph. I just wanted to share and explain that it's also not the typical way in which the lions live their life. The next 4 or 5 photographs just to show you the beauty of these animals. Here is a young female. These are very young cubs. That's a subadult male, about 3 years old. And here is a big adult male crossing a river. Normal pictures, normal videos of lions, in the Mardi images you will not see. I was very lucky. I mean, some of these pictures are taken by my friends. But I was lucky for about more than 4 years. I had more or less unlimited access to the park day and night. And I was able to do my work largely on foot. I did have a jeep to support. But அந்த மாதிரி க்ளோஸா போய் அனிமல் அப்சர்வ் பண்றது, ஃபாலோ பண்றது, பார்க்கறது, ஃபோட்டோகிராஃப் எடுக்கிறதெல்லாம் were the best years of my life. This was between December of 1985 and March of 1990. Here you see 2 adult male lions resting during a hot summer afternoon. And you can see the tails are being wagged or waved. Many of us have seen dogs or keep dogs. When dogs come and greet us in a friendly manner, you will see them wagging their tail. But aduve cats wag panna tail, the message is completely opposite. It is an expression of irritation. So we should be careful when cats wag their tail. So நாம் பக்கத்துல நடந்து போய் போட்டோ எடுக்க போறேன். இந்த 2 அனிமல் தூங்கின்னு இருக்கு. அது it doesn't like me coming close, probably trying to disturb it. It thinks I'm going to disturb it. அதனால it is indicating பக்கத்துல வராதே by wagging its tail. Most pictures of Gir will have a gray or a yellow or a drab background because Gir is part of a dry deciduous savanna thorn scrub kind of vegetation. அப்படினா என்ன, மழை கம்மி, மரம் எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் ஹைட் சின்னதா இருக்கும், நிறைய முள்ளு செடி இருக்கும், நிறைய ஓப்பன் ஏரியாஸ் இருக்கும். மழை வந்து typically mid-July till about end of September மழை பெய்யும். மழையும் கம்மியா பெய்யும். இவங்க உங்க களக்காட் மண்டந்திர மாதிரி எல்லாம் ஹெவி ரெயின்ஸ் அங்க கிடையாது. பட் மழை பெஞ்ச உடனே the minute it rains, the whole landscape undergoes an enormous transformation. Look at this. It's full green. எல்லா மரத்துலேருந்து new shoots have come up, leaves have come up, the grass has grown. Because the rainy season is so limited, the plants have to really take advantage of the rainfall and grow as much as possible during that short window of time. Now, I said that lions evolved in Africa and then have moved across to India. Much of North and Central India used to have lions, north of the Narmada River. But today, lions are restricted to Gir Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park and surrounding habitats. And the only reason lions have disappeared from such a large area is human beings. India around 1850s, guns came in and people started, they were already hunting, but guns enabled them to hunt much more effectively. And because of that, lions from rest of India were eliminated. Nama hunting records lende we are able to find out this, and inga paathalna Iraq la Euphrates Tigris Valley liyo irundhathu, Iran liyo irundhathu, Pakistan la irundhathu. There are some questionable records from Afghanistan and adjoining upper it was called USSR, now the Central Asian republics. So look at how much impact human beings can have, and in such a short span of time. 1888, between about 1840 to 1888, over 50 years, human beings were able to eliminate lions from rest of India, and only lions were left were in and around Gir forest. So here is a male lion, and all lions found in Gir have this flap of skin called the belly fold. So that's quite diagnostic. So it is very unusual. It is not, I've not ever been recorded of lions in Gir not having this belly fold. Africa, about 50% of the lions do not have the belly fold. The other thing to note, you see the ears are very clearly visible, and there is not much mane right in between the ears. But here you look at this African lion, you don't see the ears. Kade theri matenga. Full, like what you in human terms call a hippie haircut or lack of a haircut, fully grown. So in the Mardi lion, Africa la da irukku. In Asia, you do not see lions with this luxuriant growth of mane. I'm just looking at chat. So, Madhivan, in the chat, la varthala apram paathukalama?
Illa sir, chat la pasanga amma chat pannipanga sir.
Oh, okay. Na paaka vandala, yeah? Okay, fine.
Paaka vendam sir.
Here is a female lioness, and you can again see the belly fold. The belly fold is much more visible and pronounced in males than in females. So look at what the population trajectory has been. 1888, the last lion outside of Gir was shot. These are estimates from records that we have built up, and you see that the lions very nearly went extinct. In 1880, the report says less than 12. In 1913, the report says less than or equal to 20. When the entire population of a species is so low, it is very unusual for them to make a recovery. So we should actually celebrate that today the lions in India, in Gir, in Asia, have made this remarkable recovery from estimates of less than 12 to about 20 to 50. And when I finished field work, it was 284, which is itself 30 years ago. And 284 the recent census, which was the numbers they gave in May or June this year, you see 284 here, and the number has gone up to 674. While the recovery of the population is definitely something we should celebrate, at the same time, we also need to learn to manage this conservation success. Adapati, I will talk in a little while. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is don't take these numbers too seriously. Appadina 50 na eppadi theriyum 51 illa 52 illa 49 illa நம்ம வந்து if நீங்கலாம் ஸ்கூலுக்கு போறீங்க, I mean before the pandemic, if 4 of you are given the task, go and count the number of students attending school today na, you will have to go to classroom after classroom and start counting. Some child might have gone to the toilet, some child might be late in coming to the class. Everybody might not be there, or everybody might be there, and 4 people counting, you will come with 4 different numbers. This is in a small area, in a school where students are supposed to be sitting in the class. How can we go out into a forest and say we are able to so accurately count lions? No lion is, and school attendance. Ravi, I'll have to say present, sir. Okay. No lion is going to come and tell us absent or present. So counting animals is not the right approach. The right approach is to estimate the population. அந்த காலத்துல பரவாயில்ல, methods எல்லாம் இல்ல, techniques எல்லாம் இல்ல, equipment எல்லாம் இல்ல. In the last 20-30 years, maybe even longer, the techniques have really developed. The equipment is so much easier, satellite and otherwise. So scientific method la ponom. And scientific method la pona, the estimate will come like 625 plus or minus whatever, 20, 30, 15 or we expect the population to be 625, but it can be as large as 675 or as low as 575. So the number that gives you greater confidence in believing that number. In the exact number 674, 523, 411, this is phone number, vehicle number, this is population estimate, correct. And no agency should say it is a census. These are always population estimates. This is ரெண்டாவது என்ன பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த yellow bar இருக்கே அது என்ன சொல்றது lions are today found as much as in 30,000 square kilometers அது ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க அதுவும் what is the size of the protected area the size of the protected area is this much 1500 square kilometers where is 1500 square kilometers where is 30,000 square kilometers what does it tell you the majority of, or more than 50% of the lion population today is not found within the protected area. They are found outside the protected area. And what is found outside the protected area? Agricultural fields, villages, towns, cities, roads, bus stands, godowns, railway lines, ports, Nama regular living area, people's habitat. So lion appearing in people's habitat poses risks both for the people as well as for the lion. This is also something you need to keep in mind. In the protected area, there are 3 zones. Central dark green is called a national park. India, that is the highest level of protection that a wildlife reserve gets. The surrounding light green has the status of a wildlife sanctuary. And in the extreme west or yellow colored, that is a small safari park. Normally wildlife protected area safari park irukakudadu, but for whatever to manage tourism, they have set up this safari park. Safari parks are normally supposed to be closer to big towns and cities so that a lot of people can go and observe animals. But Girla, they have created a safari park to manage tourism so that not everybody who comes needs to go into the wildlife sanctuary. They can be diverted to the safari park. This is what Gir forest looks like. Ningala National Geographic, Animal Planet, Discovery, and Area Wildlife channels. Lions patti, African lions patti you will get films. But you might see that what shall I say, flat lands, open lands, normally lion films are there. But Gir is not flat. It's largely small, undulating, hills. And so I want you to recognize that the Asian lions in Gir are not animals that primarily live on flatlands. They live in undulating or hilly terrain. And it's fairly open. But still you can see the grass on the ground. It's largely open forest. What I call a bird's eye view. I took that picture from a hill. Forest how does the forest look like? Take a maram. This front take a maram, teak tree. Nama district the tree because the soil is poor, rainfall is limited. So you have what is called as a stunted form of teak. Ziziphus, Bahunia, and the acacia. So nariya species. So nariya thorn ground, nariya dry leaves. So nadakambodhu silent and nadakkarthu is not easy. That's the western part of Gir. When we move to eastern part of Gir, this is more like Africa. From about 1,000 millimeters of rainfall in the west, you come to about 700 millimeters of rainfall in the east. So, Mara nalla kamiyarudhu. And the local ecology then reflects that reduction in rainfall. So you see shorter trees, you see more thorny bushes, you see more open habitat, which is like the African savanna. But essentially, the lions in Gir are an animal of the forest. Yeah, that's also important for us to remember. It's a wonderful photograph taken by my friend Kalyan Verma. You can see banyan tree, ficus, and alamaram. And adila daytime resting, you see a small group of lions. I made a big, I forgot to say something important. I said, what is special about lions? Lions are sexually dimorphic. Now, the other important thing is they are social. No other cat is social. They don't live alone. They live in groups. And a group of lions is called a pride. A tiger or leopard, normally you'll see them alone. Occasionally you can see them in pairs when male and female are together for mating. Some very lucky people can see a leopardess, the female leopard mother, with her cubs. But in lions, as I will show you shortly, they can extend to about 40 or 50 lions together in a group. They're truly social cats. Again, a good picture to show the forest habitat and the animal. And lions coexist with leopards, or the other way around, leopards coexist with lions. The leopard paranga, how comfortable it is sitting on top of a tall tree. This is what allows the leopard to coexist with a lion. The leopard is so much smaller than a lion that if it ever was to get caught on the ground, the lions will catch it, kill it, and even eat it. So leopard has to adapt, and that adaptation is primarily to go vertical. Lions are big, heavy, very poor climbers of trees. They can occasionally climb. Adukku tree correcta, adukku slope irukano, branch low irukano, then only they can climb. But leopard can even climb up a tree trunk 30 feet straight. No problems at all. Very powerful animals. And what they also do is the prey that they kill, they often take it up trees so that they can eat it in a relaxed manner. Otherwise, lions, if they come by, they smell the prey, they will chase the leopard and even steal leopard's prey. And that happens quite often. Now, large cats and small cats, India is blessed with large cats as well as small cats. I don't know how many of you know that India not only has tigers, leopards, lions, it also has snow leopards in the Himalayas and clouded leopard in the northeast. So India is, I think, the only country in the world which has 5 large cats. In addition to this, we have something like 16 or 17 small cats. Around places you stay, it should be, if you're careful and know where you're going and looking, possible for you to see jungle cats. And if you go into the forest, you should, if you're lucky, be able to see leopard cats and rusty spotted cats. So these are three relatively common small cats in South India. And then as you go through rest of the country, you have marble cat, golden cat, pallas cat, fishing cat, desert cat. You know, there's a large range of species. So India is really, really blessed to have this wonderful diversity. And cats in general are predators. If you have such a diversity of predators, you should also have such a diversity of prey, which means such a diversity of habitats. So, nama country vande, nama ella adapati kattukanum. We need to know more and more about what nature has so generously given India. But getting back to large cats, typically large cats weigh over 18 kilos. They are 100% carnivorous. Abdina meat eating. And meat can be from a lizard to a snake to a turtle to a mammal to a bird, any kind of animal. Occasionally you might see a cat eating some vegetation. That is not because to meet its hunger or energy requirements. It might be to either meet a micronutrient requirement or even as a deworming technique. The other characteristic of large cat is they are very wide ranging. And you'll be surprised to know that a lion or a tiger, if its ecology requires, can easily walk 30 to 40 kilometers overnight. And this is not an animal running or anything like that. A leisurely walking animal, if there's a certain purpose for it, can walk that kind of distance. Typically, males range wider than females, but even females can move 4 or 5 kilometers in a 24-hour cycle. An equally important characteristic is that they are territorial. They will defend the area in which they live. So Namala, for our house, we have doors and locks and things like that. In the forest, you obviously don't have that facility. So how do they demarcate? How do they defend their territory? I will come to it in a while. I'll explain that. And large cats can roar. This is a sound, a noise, a vocalization that only large cats can do. That's because of the manner in which their larynx, their voice box is designed. And amongst large cats, lions probably have the most distinctive roars, and they also roar much more regularly than the other large cats. India wildlife and people separate panni paakaradu, I don't think is the right attitude or the right approach. Yes, almost all of our area has had human impact historically. A lot of our wildlife lives outside protected areas, which means, as I said, lions, 50% of the lions are not within the protected area. So even if you say people have to go out of protected area, what do you do with the wildlife which is outside protected area living in people's habitat? Plus, you might have heard about climate change. Climate change knows no boundaries. Climate change travels long, impacts of climate change travel enormous distance, and I'm talking now even thousands of kilometers. And climate change is caused by us, people, at least like people like me who live in cities, who consume a lot of energy, whose ecological footprint is rather heavy, whose carbon emission is very heavy. When the climate change impacts can be felt within protected area by people who are relatively prosperous and rich, how can we then blame local communities living with reasonable peace, compassion, and coexistence with wildlife and ecology as the problem? So, conservation pati pesambodhu, there are issues of justice, issues of ethics for us to also consider. Now, this picture is of a couple of young Maldaris. Maldaris are local tribal people. They graze livestock within the forest. And Andagathal at least, they were using camel as their main mode of transport. Ippalam pathangna, they've shifted from camels to motorcycles. This is their main livestock, buffaloes. Each herd normally consists of about 40 to 50 animals, of which majority would be buffaloes, few cows, a bull maybe, an occasional horse, and a few camels. In the Mari, this is their settlement. Thorn enclosed, primarily to keep lions and leopards away, so that at night they have some protection. And here you can see on a hot summer afternoon, Maldaris watering their livestock in the forest. Close up, there are three herds. There's one herd which is finished drinking water and moving away. There's a second herd at the water hole, and the third herd which is waiting to come and drink water. Now, some of these kind of activities can definitely pose threat to wildlife and ecology, because domestic animals can carry diseases which they can transmit to wildlife. And in a water hole, nare animals were over a short time. There's lots of animals coming, they're concentrating there. And even if one animal has a disease, that can quickly spread. And after the buffalo moves away, there is then wildlife coming. So, and if the disease can infect the wildlife can definitely get it. So these kind of risks are there. So the way we need to intervene is to make sure that adequate veterinary care is given to these livestock so that they stay healthy and the chances of them picking up diseases and transmitting to wildlife is reduced. In the pictures, na field work between, as I said, 1985 and 1990. So things have changed, as I said. This is a picture taken very early in the morning, something like 4 o'clock. And Kalangatala, you can see them churning buttermilk, curds, yogurt, thair, to convert that into butter. Apram butter they will convert into ghee. Ghee vandu varatliyo pathanallo they will take it to the local market and sell it. Even this has changed as camels have given way to motorbikes. I am told now that nearby dairy plants they are sending refrigerated trucks to pick up liquid milk, and they are getting a better economic return from that. So we were talking about lions. We were talking about lions being carnivorous. So carnivorous, they need meat. So where do they get their meat from? Primarily from wildlife prey animals. So in the bottom la pathangana pulliman or cheetal, axis deer. Left la pathangana sambar deer. India and South Asia's largest deer species. And in the top right la pathangana nilgai, which is an antelope, which is again Asia's largest antelope. Idukapra wild pigs. So these four form the most common wild prey for lions and leopards in Gir. And Gir la pathangana, there's a very high density of wild prey, and that is why you also have this very high density of carnivores, lions and leopards. So a couple of more pictures of prey animals in their habitat so that you get a sense of what the forest looks like. And here is a picture of a well-fed lion. how well fed the extended abdomen and belly you can see. This is a big male animal, and you can see the canine teeth. There are 2 sharp canine in the lower jaw and 2 in the upper jaw. And this is the killing tools that a lion has. These canines are used to either bite through the windpipe of the prey animal or bite at the back of the neck and slice through the vertebra, the spinal cord. Occasionally they use other techniques, but these are the 2 most common techniques for lions to kill their prey. Equally important are the paws. In the picture nalla theriyala, but those paws are what enables a lion to capture and bring the prey down. They are very efficient feeders. You can see this was a big cheetal stag. You see how little is left of it. The Katal about 4:30 they killed the animal, and by around 7:30 when I went in, completely 2 male lions killed this cheetal, which had a weight something in the region of 70-80 kilograms, of which about 40 kilograms would have been 40-50 kilograms would have been edible, and in about 2.5-3 hours they come. The pictures, couple of pictures of lions feeding. You can see how it is feeding. It doesn't have a knife or a fork, so it has to use its teeth and claws not only to kill, but also to be able to slice the meat off the carcass and then to be able to swallow it. They do not chew their food. Paws, the front paws are not what you call extended here. Cats, their claws are normally withdrawn or retracted, unlike dogs, so that they're always sharp. When they want, they expand their claws, their paw like that, and when they do that, the claws come out. So they can grow in size by about 50%. So it's very important for them both to capture prey as well as for things like feeding. The male lion feeding on a cheetal. Here, if you look carefully, is a pride, 2 adult females with some younger animals feeding again on a cheetal. If you look carefully, you can see the spotted deer there. And here is one single lioness feeding on a big Nilgai bull. The Nilgai bull, about 300 kilograms it would have weighed. She weighed only about 108 or 105 kilograms, I forget now. Now, the radio collared animal, so close up, you can see the collar there, so we knew its weight. So she was able to kill this animal 3 times her weight on her own. She was hunting singly. Lions, of course, continue to kill and feed on domestic livestock because Maldaris live within their local villages, bring their cattle in, plus lions are also found outside the protected area. So you cannot tell the lion not to feed on or hunt domestic livestock. So there are some conflicts and tensions with the local people because lions do kill and feed on domestic livestock. Lions within the forest and lions outside the forest, at least in those days, used to be behaving very differently. Lions within the forest were much more easier to work with. They were not so aggressive, but velila the people used to disturb them, throw stones at them and so on. So they used to be much more aggressive. Either this is a lioness on a domestic cow kill outside the forest. You can see how alert it is, how it is observing the photographer approaching it. So I told you about lions being social, and the social unit of lions is called a pride. And unlike our popular belief, the pride basically consists only of females. The males are not permanent members of a pride. The males live in groups called coalitions, and those coalitions can range in size from 2 to 7. And typically the coalitions are unrelated to the pride. And there's a good reason for that. Because if the males are also related to the females, then you have the undesirable consequences of inbreeding happening. So the males change, the coalition, the territorial males change every few years, 3 to 5 years. Younger males will come and fight and dispose of, push off the older males. And that makes sure that the genetic fitness of the population is properly maintained. So this is a good example of a pride of lions. You can see Pinadi one, Nadula one, in front. 3 adult females. This is older cubs, more than a year old. This is about a year old. And these are about 5 or 6 months old, much younger. So, pride or another important thing to keep in mind is not all members of the pride need to be seen together at all times. Similarly, not all members of a male coalition also need to be seen together at all times. But whenever they meet, you can notice that they are friendly, that they come and greet each other, nuzzle each other. There's a level of comfort. So when you see a non-pride animal coming somewhere near a pride, and the reaction is very different. It will be much more aggressive. The animal approaching will also be a little timid. So it's a little difficult. You need some knowledge, you need some experience to be able to clearly define what is a pride, who's a pride member, and so on and so forth. Here again, you see 2 males of a 5 or 7 male coalition sleeping, and it's a picture I took, and this is again a good example of the size of the paws. And this is what I mean by these animals giving us incredible access. I am barely 10 feet away from them. I'm using a wide angle lens to take this picture. I'm on foot. The lion at the back is completely comfortable sleeping while this guy is keeping an eye on me. Obviously, I don't recommend that any of you do this, but when I was doing field work, I developed a certain sense of confidence, a certain understanding of lion behavior. And these lions and this population of lions is very, very special. Now, Africa, when I've given talks and people see pictures like this, they think I'm a madman. Because in Africa, nobody travels on foot without a guard, either carrying a gun or a spear or something like that. So and in India, we never, as wildlife researcher, will carry a gun or any other weapon to protect ourselves. Here is 3 members of a male coalition. And here's a good way to illustrate how the lion's appearance change over time. Young cubs here, about a year old, and then about 3 years old, when males have to leave the pride in which they are born. And then for a year or 2, they build up strength, they build up experience, they go exploring. And wherever they find older, weaker males, they're able to fight them and dispose them off, drive them away, then they will take over that. So this is all something we've already talked about. And males are lucky to live for about 10 years, while females can live about 15, 16 years in the wild. So male and female life is very different. And this is studies based on Africa, which is very much applicable to India. So once they are born, most females will get integrated into their pride, and they will breed for about 8 years, between years 3 and 11. And from about age 15, they are definitely prone to die, but they can live to maximum 18 years in the wild. Captivity, they can live much longer. Very few females disperse from their pride. Either way, when you see to males, it's very different. They are born in a pride at the age of, latest by the age of 3, all males have to leave the pride. Then we talked about coalition formation. There's this nomadic phase for a couple of years, and they form coalitions. Then they're lucky, they will establish territory. In Africa, the average tenure is about 2 or 3 years. In India, we think it's slightly longer, 3 to 4 years. And then the next wave of younger males will come and push them off. Then, so male life, there are 2 phases of nomadism. After dispersal from their pride, then before they take over territory, and then after they are removed, they are pushed away from their territory, and they are still nomadic till they die at the age of about 10 or 12. So here is a pair of male and female lion. This is exhibiting a behavior called phlegm. This male, you can see how it's curled up its lips and exposing its teeth. It's trying to check the reproductive availability of this female. For lions, in the Maripata, a male is very closely following a female. It is almost sure that they are a mating pair. And the mating lasts from anything to 3 to 7 days. It's quite a show. It's very, a lot of aggression is there, a lot of sound and noise. And you can see how tense all of that takes place. And this is basically because the male is so much bigger than the female. They're just getting to know each other, getting used to the fact that they're going to be mating for the next few days. And now you can see the actual size difference, how much bigger the male is, and also the male is on top of the female. So in some sense, the female is at risk. If the male decided to just bite her on her neck, she would die. So as soon as the mating is over, the female will turn around and slap, at least try to slap the male on the face to make him move. So I will quickly go through. I realize I'm running short of time now. Now, male's job is basically defending territory. So male lions almost always will have some scratches and very often have injuries like this. This is natural. This is nothing to be worried about. And this definitely should not call for management intervention, because by nature itself, they can heal these wounds. So males typically patrol their territory. They can walk long distances, and they like man-made roads like this. So when they patrol, they're looking for the scent of other males, the vasana of other males. They're looking to hear the roar or sounds of other males. And Andamadi, if they are not belonging to their pride, then they will go and look for them to fight them and push them. What are they defending? They are primarily defending females, and they are young. In a territorial male's case, they would have mated with these females, so these cubs are really their cubs. In nature, in wildlife, one of the biggest driving forces, apart from wanting to survive, is to pass on your genes to the next generation. So by defending, the males are giving a good chance for these cubs to survive, to grow. They carry the male's genes, and then they can in turn pass it on to the next generation. How do they defend their territory? They defend it by leaving visiting cards. I don't know how many of the children are experienced, but definitely the adults know what a visiting card is. It basically carries your name, your address, if you belong to an institution, which institution, your phone number, email ID, and so on and so forth. What I mean by a visiting card in the lion's case is, here a lion is roaring. We talked about large cats roaring. And lions typically will roar about an hour before sunset till a couple of hours after sunrise. So Sandra from about 5:36 till about 8:30 in the morning. They can roar as regularly as 4-5 times an hour, and each roar lasts about 40 seconds. And these roars are really loud, and they can carry reasonably long distances. If the forest is still, if the lion is sitting on top of a hill, 5-6 kilometers, all possible. But even in the worst of conditions, lion roar can be heard about a kilometer or more. For most of us as people listening to a lion roar, we will not be able to distinguish one lion from the other. But lions are able to recognize each other's voices. So if a lion is roaring, the pride members listening to it will know, oh, here our male lion is roaring, so we are safe. Either way, coalition members, the other members of the coalitions listen, they know, okay, our partner is roaring, he is roughly in that direction, so far away, and so on and so forth. But if an animal not belonging to the pride, not belonging to the coalition listens to the roar, the signal is different. It's saying, watch out, I am here, I am powerful, I can roar, I can defend my territory. So this is a conflict avoidance mechanism also, And it's also what you call as a sound fence. By roaring regularly, it's setting a fence by sound. The other fence is set is by chemicals. Here you can see a lion scent marking. This is much better in this picture. You can see that urine being sprayed on a each animal has its unique scent or odor. It's able to a few kilometers. It's only seconds. Other line has come to find out. And this is me. It is a picture taken, I think, in 1987 or 88. So long time ago, when I was doing field work. And here you see an animal which has been immobilized for radio calling. Here I am with my wonderful team field crew, and this is my colleague who was studying deer and antelopes and pigs, Dr. Jamal Khan, who now works at Aligarh Muslim University. This is the female lion. I showed you an earlier picture of having killed and feeding on a nilgai. We didn't have any sophisticated equipment. We just had to go out and do the work. Once you radio collar an animal, you have to then track it. And the way to track it is using an antenna. These are all old style. You have much better sophisticated antennas now, and using a receiver. So you get a regular signal, you can track the animal, because otherwise trying to find an animal in a forest is what, like the English proverb says, looking for a needle in a haystack. Radio collar allows you to repeatedly locate an animal of your interest. And the mari pannumbodhu, then you can plot those locations, create maps like this, and these are all important to understand the ecology and thereby better manage these populations. Now, lions, as we know, are not restricted to the protected area. Where are they found? They are found all through this area now. And you can see the very small little patches of forest. Largely it's agricultural and revenue land and towns and cities. And this is all according to official figures. These are not numbers I'm making up. This is not from the latest census. This is from the previous census. And you can see how many lions are living in human-dominated habitats. So forest kulla only 304. There is in this patch 32 lions, in this patch 18 lions. There's 37 here. There are 80 lions here. So there's a lot of interaction between people and lions. There's a lion sleeping on a village road. What do you see in the background? Two people on a motorcycle. Now, if by mistake they either run over the animal, or if the lion just gets up and runs towards them, you can all imagine what kind of confusion and chaos can be caused. Here is a lion crossing a railway track. It is not unusual for lions to be run over by trucks or by trains. On an average, at least one animal gets struck by a train or a truck every year. Now, all lions today are living in Gir and surrounding areas. And I've already told you it's a remarkable conservation success. At the same time, I've also said that we need to learn to manage success. There is a saying in English, all your eggs in one basket. எல்லா முட்டையோ 50 முட்டையோ 5 முட்டையோ 500 முட்டையோ எல்லாம் ஒரே பாஸ்கெட்ல இருந்தா அந்த பாஸ்கெட் கீழே விழுந்தா என்ன ஆகும்? Almost all your eggs will break. That is the same situation today we are with Gir and the lions. So my PhD research was primarily to understand the ecology of the animal, get latest information to then inform what is called as a translocation project. So ada mudichuttu, then in 1993 1994, I did a survey of potential habitats in the former distribution. How the lions were found throughout central and up northern India, in the present day states of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, even Delhi. In fact, there is 1 or 2 hunting records of British officers riding by horse from Red Fort and hunting lions in what is today the Delhi airport, Palam. So, how widespread the lions were. So, based on the survey we did, we have chosen Kuno Wildlife Sanctuary. This is the Kuno River, which is a tributary of the mighty Chambal River, as the site for translocation. A good view of the diversity of habitats in Kuno. That is a bamboo patch. This is a lovely grassland. And survey pannabodu, we found that there were also challenges. There were some areas which are overgrazed. There were some highly dense human populations living there. And they were not used to lions, of course, because lions Romanal Minadi were eliminated from there. So one of the recommendations was that there should be voluntary relocation panni. We should try and secure about 800 square kilometers of human-free habitat to create the alternate home for translocating lions. So idella velalam panni, more than 1,200 families, more than 2,500 families were moved. Kuno has been managed very well, but lions have not moved even today. So in early 2002 or 3, he went to the court, Supreme Court, filed what is called as a public interest litigation. And then the Supreme Court in February 2002 asked me to come and be an expert witness in this case. So I was living in Bangalore. Vara used to be going to Delhi to attend these hearings, sometimes twice a week, from February to May of 2012. Based on which they gave the judgment on 15th of April 2013. And the order very clearly says lions have to be translocated because not translocating is placing too much conservation risk on this population. And the order in 2013 said lions have to be translocated in letter and spirit within 6 months. Now it's more than 7 years and lions have still not been translocated. And the judgment is based on the reading of the Indian Constitution and the role that the National Board for Wildlife has to play and had played in this. Now, the judgment, I'm happy to share, it's available in public domain. I won't waste time here. Other than to say, one of the recommendations was to appoint an expert committee. I'm a member of that committee. Dr. Johnson is a member of this committee. Kuno is definitely ready. The last time I visited in December 2016, it's bursting with prey. They've created a national park. They appointed trained staff, but unfortunately, Gujarat government has said, "Mudiyadu, kodukka mudiyadu." What has unfortunately also come through is, in 2018, we are seeing this deadly disease, canine distemper virus, and babesiosis, an amoebic kind of disease. And in combination, they have been killing lions. Many lions have died, unfortunately, and the information that they are suppressing. And this is what we feared. All eggs would basket, all lions would gear. The disease vanda, nariya lions settu pohum, who knows, all lions settu polam. Adinala translocation has been recommended. But the powers to be have not complied with the court order. Last few slides, just pictures to give you a reality check on wildlife conservation in India. Here you see a leopard jumping from 2nd or 3rd floor terrace in an engineering college. Here you see a leopard brutally beaten to death. Here you see an old man and a lot of children kind of showing reverence to a killed leopard. But even then there's that strong cultural linkage. All of this tells us that India is facing many challenges, but it also has many important characteristics which most of the world does not share. Even in developed countries, if large dangerous animals are seen in human-dominated habitats, almost always those are captured or killed. That's not the case in India. Still, people still have a strong relationship with nature. And number management, conservation, anything we propose, we have to take that on board. We should never pursue a conservation agenda which throws people out, which removes people, which separates people from the idea of conservation, from the act of conservation. This is my first picture of a lion, December of 1985. I grew up in Madras in a city playing cricket. So my exposure to wildlife in my growing up years was rather limited. I was lucky to somehow meet people who kind of guided me, who showed a way. People like Preston Mas, people in BNHS, whom I met in Point Calimere. And then I found out that AVC College in Manampandal, Mayiladurai of Bharatidasan University actually had a master's course in wildlife that I was able to then study. So when I got into Gir, in some sense it was a big learning experience, it was a big adventure for me. And 4 days I'd been walking around, I did not see lions, I used to hear them, I used to see their pug marks, I used to see their droppings, I used to see their kills. And before I did my AVC College MSc, I was a marketing executive. So I had already started a working career. Now I've quit my job, I've done my MSc, I've come to study an animal after 4 days. So, by the time I recovered my courage and realized I was actually having a camera, binoculars, 3 of the lions had disappeared. And then I took this first picture of a lion. I still very much am proud and cherish this image. Compared to previous pictures, this might not be a great picture, but this is still my first picture of a wild lion in Gir. Again, it took me about 6-7 months to get used to learn how to work with these animals. You can see this is me, and these are the lions. I've already shown some pictures as to how close you can approach these animals if you know what you're doing. The only reason I had to do this in those days was primarily to be able to identify each individual animal. How do you identify a lion? Unlike a tiger or a leopard body, there are no markings. So primarily you will look for scars on the face, tears in the ear, and there's something else called whisker spot pattern. I think early on there was a picture, but I should have shown it. And the Meesamardi were there. Each thing has a spot pattern. And the spot pattern is like our human fingerprints. So, ad pakkatla ponadam paaka mudiyum binoculars vechu. The vegetation is so thick that you will not get a clear view. And here you are seeing my own shadow, and here's a big male lion sleeping. So I was really close. This is handshaking distance from the animal. Again, very, very special animals who understand, who know how to live with people. And you also have to behave yourself. You will have to judge and understand how the animal is feeling that day, how it's behaving. And slowly, if you think it is okay, get closer and closer to get images like this. Here is a subadult radio-collared animal. Summer afternoon, I took this picture. It heard my camera shot of the animal. The other thing we need to keep in mind in India is conservation. I've already said cannot keep local people out. It definitely also cannot keep development pressures out. Development can mean roads and highways like this. Right now, it is what you call a kacha highway. It is not tar pandla, but more and more demands are to tar highways going through our national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, or to build dams, or to mine, various things, to put electric transmission lines through our forest, all of which will definitely have some impact, negative mostly, and some far greater impact. So these are all challenges if you are considering anyway contributing to conservation that you need to come up. Last couple of slides. I mean, I always will like to talk, especially to the younger generation, about what I have experienced, what I have enjoyed, and the magic of these animals and gear, simply because even today in India, very few people recognize that we have lions. Most people can talk about tigers, talk about elephants, but very few people in the general population recognize that India has lions. And these lions are endangered, they are facing threats, and I hope at least one or more of you from this audience will take a special interest and engage with this through your lifetime, so that this doesn't become the end of the road for this subspecies. But at least you people are lucky you live in areas where you're able to see sunrises and sunsets. Some of the best sunrises and sunsets in my life have been in Gir. It's quite remarkable, just that kind of habitat and the kind of region it is. So I thought I should at least share one of that. And thank you very much. I'm sorry, Tony, that I took longer, but I'm happy to take questions now.
No issues, sir. It was wonderful. Yeah, we have few questions on the chat box. Adu namma na vasikra sir. ஒரு சில ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் கிட்ட இருந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चंस ரீட் பண்றேன். அதுக்கு அப்புறம் அவங்க டைரக்டா chat அவங்கட்ட क्वेश्चन கேட்கலாம். அஸ்வின்ங்கற பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட் கேட்டுக்கிறாரு. How do Asiatic lions mark their territory? Is there any difference between Asiatic lion and African lions in marking their territories?
Okay, the answer is no, there is no difference. And I hope you saw the scent marking images that I showed, where you can see a bit of urine being sprayed. I told you how it has its unique scent. And the other thing they do is by roaring. So marking territory is the scent marking, but the other way of defending their territory is by roaring. But there is no difference between the scent marking of or defending territory patterns in African and Asian lions.
Yes, sir. Thanks. So, Amy has asked, what is baiting? Amy, what is baiting?
Good question. Very good question. The slide when I showed the population, I think she caught it from there. Very, very good question. Very perceptive. Baiting na ஒரு buffalo calf ஒரு வருஷம் இருக்கும் அந்த ஏஜுக்கு அதை they will tie it on a tree and leave it. Then lions would come and kill it. So the buffalo calf is offered as a bait. And when the lions come and kill it, you are supposed to count the lions. But that technique has been stopped for the last, I would say 10, maybe 15 years, simply because animal welfare people, yes, Ahmed, it will be male buffaloes that will be used. Animal welfare people have objected, saying it is subjecting the buffalo to cruelty. So baiting is no longer, at least officially, it is no longer used. Unofficially, I mean, in any case, we know that people do break the law. So usually there is some breaking of law.
So one more question before I give the session to the students, participants. Ahmed had asked, sir, will Pride accommodate new lions?
Will the Pride accommodate
new lions?
Yeah. நம்ம பார்த்தோம் ரெண்டு சார்ட் காமிச்சேன். ஃபீமேல் கப் என்ன ஆறுது, மேல் கப்புக்கு என்ன ஆறுது as they grow older. The Pride will primarily accommodate female cubs as they grow up. Very occasionally, they might accommodate a female cub which has grown and dispersed. The female order pattern pakumbodhu, most females stayed in the pride. A few females were dispersing. So on the few females dispersed, will try and get integrated into other prides or try to start a pride on their own. So pride accommodating other lions is unusual, but can happen. So that's the female story. We should also keep in mind that prides are always accommodating new males. Every 3, 4, 5 years, the male coalition changes. So that's a new set of males coming. And as I said, that's a very important adaptation to make sure inbreeding does not happen.
Okay, sir. Kritikan, you can go ahead with your first question. You can ask your question. Any others? You have questions? Other questions? Unmute pannittu direct நீங்க சார் கிட்ட கேட்கலாம். First, Kritikan, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Unmute and also take a show your face so that I know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, sure.
Kritikan.
Kritikan followed by.
நீங்க தான் unmute பண்ணனும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அவர் பண்ணலையே Kritikan.
Unmute பண்ணிட்டீங்கல தடவா? Kritikan.
பேசலாம்.
Unmute. Kritikan unmute பண்ணிக்கோங்க. வீடியோவையும் ஆன் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. Please go ahead. If not, Ramana, you can ask your question, Ramana.
Sir,
Ramana, camera pottuko. Yeah, tell me.
Sir, what is the present state of lion reintroduction?
So, Kadasila, I showed you a single slide. I said it is in stalemate. Abdina, frontlyum pola, backlym pola, abdiye dhaan irukku. 2013 Supreme Court judgment, 15th of April 2013 judgment kodtaanga. They said 6 மாசத்துக்குள்ள lion translocate பண்ணனும். Now 7 வருஷம் மேல ஆயாச்சு, lions have not been translocated. Unfortunately, Gujarat government has taken a negative attitude. கொடுக்க மாட்டேன் சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க. But Supreme Court சொல்லியாச்சுன்னா, that is the law of the land. They should formally do it. And in the last 2-3 years now, diseases have also come. Lions have started dying from that. So we are in a very risky kind of situation.
Thank you, sir. Another one question, sir.
Kalanga.
Other than Kuno National Park, are there any places for lion reintroduction?
See, lion introduce பண்ணனும்னு reintroduce பண்ணனும்னு between 800 and 1500 square kilometers of habitat வேணும். Okay, அந்த மாதிரி நம்ம இந்தியால இப்போ ஃபாரஸ்ட் ஹேபிtat கிடைக்கிறது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம். Okay, so நாங்க வந்து 93-94 when we did the survey, various forest departmentsக்கு எழுதினோம். இந்த மாதிரி ஏரியா வேணும், இந்த மாதிரி ஃபாரஸ்ட் டைப் இருக்கணும், தண்ணி இருக்கணும், ப்ரே இருக்கணும், டிபிக்கலி டெவலப்மெண்ட் ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது. அவங்க கொடுத்த லிஸ்ட்ல only 3 places qualified for the survey. 4 places qualified for the survey. நாங்க சர்வே பண்ணிட்டு அதுல தான் கூனோ வந்தது. Okay, so the chances of other habitats being available is much lesser because between 93-94 and 2020, unfortunately, our forests have got more fragmented and more degraded.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Enda oor Ramana?
Kanyakumari, sir.
Kanyakumari, okay. So Ahmed asks, can lions and tigers coexist? Historically, they have. Even in and around Kuno, lions and tigers have been recorded. What would have happened when you look at land in a very large landscape kind of level? There are patches which are drier, there are patches which are wetter, there are patches which are flatter, there are patches which are more hilly and undulating. So lions would have survived in the flatter, drier, more open habitats. And tigers would have survived in the more undulating, hilly, wetter, denser habitats. So, not that it's not like now ஒரு flatல இருக்கேன் அடுத்த flatல நான் lion flat and next flat is tiger அந்த மாதிரி இருக்காது. But in the same landscape, lions and tigers have definitely coexisted. And hunters, the shikaroட recordல பார்த்தேன்னா in a single day people have been able to hunt lion as well as tiger. And the காலத்துல there were no jeeps and things like that, so you have to travel by horse or by foot. And if people have been able to hunt a lion and a tiger in the same day, that also tells you that these should have been animals living fairly close to each other. Purnida, Ahmed? Hello?
Sir?
Ahmed, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can lions live in Tamil Nadu, sir?
Lions live in Tamil Nadu. I mean, obviously, Vandalur Zoo, in the zoo, there will be a lion. Minadi circus, there used to be lions. They can definitely live in
forest.
In forest, lions have never lived in Tamil Nadu. Nama history pathona and the Kamchana, I showed you a distribution map. Lions have never been found south of the Narmada river. Okay. So central India ke south, they have never lived. So there is, and it is not correct unless there's very good reason to introduce animals in habitats where they have never occurred naturally. So that these are all good principles, scientific conservation principles that we should keep in mind. Tony?
Sir, yeah.
Next.
Participants, உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கொஸ்டின் கேட்கலாம், இல்லைன்னா நான் ஃபேஸ்புக்ல இருந்து ஒரு கொஸ்டின்ஸ் நான் கேட்கிறேன். யாராவது கொஸ்டின் கேக்குறீங்களா சார் கிட்ட இன்டராக்ட் பண்றீங்களா?
Sir, VE Vijay, I want to ask a question.
Rajashakti Kalma.
Sir, what is the best method for counting lions?
Now, good question. Counting order, I would say estimating the population of lions. Okay. Every single lion போய் count பண்றதுங்கிறது it's impossible. Okay, so it is only be an attempt at estimating the population. And the method is called mark, capture, recapture. இது வந்து fairly sophisticated statistical model computer program இருக்கு. So எப்படி மார்க் பண்றோம்? நான் சொன்னேனே Vibrissae spot pattern, whisker spot pattern இருக்கு. So we have to photograph lions over many months. How you photograph, there is a way to do all that. And then keep checking when you go back and do a population survey, how many of the originally photographed lions are there, how many unphotographed lions are there, and then using a statistical method, you will come up with a population estimate. இப்போ டைகர்ஸுக்கு நீங்க கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீர்கள், they are using something called a camera trap. That is, automatic cameras are left in the forest, and when a tiger goes walking past it, the camera takes a picture of the side, the flank of the animal. Tiger has stripe patterns, lion க்கு ஒன்றும் patterns கிடையாது. And the stripe patterns are as unique as our fingerprints. Lion க்கு the unique pattern is the Vibrissae spot pattern. So that is the best method. And population estimates, population surveys are typically done in a sustained manner. It is not once in 5 years. இந்த மாதிரி endangered species population monitoring எல்லாம் ரெகுலரா பண்ணணும். அப்பதான் நமக்கு real time data, dependable data கிடைக்கும். So that's the other thing that our way of doing business has to change. Next.
Why people have to hunt lions? What is why they are doing?
Who was that? Shivapriya? Okay. Shivapriya, now you cannot hunt. Hunting now is illegal. We are talking of hunting that took place before, I would say, 1910, 1920. when the laws were all different. I'm talking about hunting in India. There are many countries which allow hunting, and the reason for hunting is they call it a sport, and they only will hunt large dangerous animals because then somehow they feel they've done a great job, and they also often take the head of the animal as a trophy. So they will, there's something, a process called taxidermy, and the skin preserve panni, skull preserve panni, they will go and mount the head or the skull of the animal. So that is the main motivation for hunting. It's often called sport hunting, big game hunting. Africa, many countries allow that. Europe, there are countries that allow that. But India, hunting is not allowed at all. It is illegal for a long time, but most definitely from 1972. There's also another kind of hunting, and it's called subsistence hunting. These are often, this is often hunting by forest dwelling tribe people who live in the forest. And for them, hunting is a way of life. Hunting is a way for them to find food. Obviously, things have changed. Their livelihoods are also changing, but viewing that hunting and sport hunting in the same way is not correct. And today, any sport hunting in India is illegal. There is no scope. So if you know about somebody hunting, learn about somebody hunting, you should recognize it is illegal. Tony?
Sir,
Yes.
One more question.
sir, how many types of lion are found in India?
In India, there is only one type. I told you early on, I think it was my second slide, I showed you how lions evolved in Africa, and that there are only 2 subspecies of lions. The Panthera leo, which is now found in West and Central Africa and in India, and Panthera leo melanochaita, which is found in East and Southern Africa. So in India, there's only one type of lion.
Yeah.
Shivapriya, you had another question?
One more question. So how much food and how many water does a pride eat and drinks in a one day?
That is a difficult question to answer. It's easier to do these things in captivity, and especially when you ask for a pride, you're talking of many animals. But I can give you estimates of what an adult lion would eat on an average. Because adults also vary in size, because males are so much bigger than females, the average intake of meat is between 5 to 8 kilograms a day. But what you have to remember is that unlike human beings, we need morning coffee, tea, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in between some snacks and tiffin and all of that. Lions or wildlife in general don't have that kind of routine, especially carnivores, because they have to go and hunt their food. And no prey animal is sitting and waiting to be hunted. On an average, hunting success is only 20%. That means for every 5 attempts to hunt, only 1 succeeds. And hunting is also dangerous business. Prey animals have horns, have antlers, have hooves, have teeth. And then when you're running through the forest, there are thorns, stones, and all of that. So when they hunt, when they get food, lions follow what is called as a feast and famine routine. A big, hungry male lion can eat up to 40 kilograms at one go. But then next 8, 10, 12 days, it might not eat very much. Okay. So the zoo, they're typically managing their diet by giving about between 5 to 8 kilos. And one day in a week, they will not feed it. That's the day of the fast. Water, I don't have estimates, Shivapriya.
Yeah.
Next. Shivapriya, wait. I mean, we'll have to give others a chance. We'll come back to you. Tony?
Yes, sir. Participants, if you have any question.
Where are you? Shivapriya to phone.
Okay, Shivapriya, you can ask your last question. And we have one more.
What can we do on our part to reduce the fragmentation of forests?
Here, Priya, can you please repeat yourself? Your voice didn't come through.
What can we do on our part to reduce the fragmentation of forests?
Oh, wow. Excellent question. We have to look at what are the real reasons for fragmentation of forest. Typically, it will be a demand for a road or a irrigation canal or electricity transmission or an oil pipeline. These are the kind of things that cause fragmentation, or bad location for a development. It could even be mining, it could be an industry, and so on and so forth. And all of this is done to benefit people like you and me. What is important to recognize, and especially in today's COVID-19 pandemic world, is that we have to learn to live with nature. We are part of nature. We cannot keep destroying nature and hope to survive, or hope to carry on the manner in which we've been living for at least the last 50, 60 years, if not the last couple of centuries. In the Mardi issues, we have to understand first. Once you understand, we have to find out more people who are similarly motivated, make them also understand, and then engage with these issues, provide alternatives, highlight the importance of conserving local ecology, conserving nature, and why conservation is not against development, but conservation is very much part of development. So this whole argument, this whole discourse, this whole pointing of fingers saying conservation is against development itself has to stop. And this whole mad rush for wealth. And what is wealth? When we were traveling by train, we could stop in any railway station and drink the water. Today we have to buy water. And I used to joke in the 80s, because by then bottled water had come, that it will not be very long before we have to buy air to breathe. And look at the levels of pollution of air today. Is that the sign of development? Is that the sign of a wealthy and secure and powerful country? So we should start defending the environment for our own selves, for our future generations. And part of that would be addressing issues related to fragmentation.
Thank you, participants. One question from FB. Vinod Kumar has asked, sir, what are your views on the recently announced Project Lion? Will it be as successful as Project Tiger?
See, Project Lion and Project Tiger have two very different, I'm only slowly now beginning to understand what Project Tiger is, because information, RTI, we've got it now. See, tigers, right from the Himalayas to Kanyakumari, from Rajasthan to the northeast. So tiger is an animal found throughout the country in very various habitats. So Project Tiger, Andamar the attitude, looking right across the country. The Project Lion is primarily restricted to Gir, but from a quick reading of the Project Lion document, which I got last week, I'm happy to see that they are recognizing the value for translocation. But my question is, 2013 Supreme Court has already given the order. It doesn't need a Project Lion for you to translocate. And they gave you 6 months, it's 7 years. So instead of talking about these things, it might be good to translate it into action. I obviously welcome any conservation initiative, but conservation initiatives don't necessarily mean just throwing more and more money. It requires scientific understanding, it requires consensus building, it requires working with local communities, and it requires 10, 15, 20-year timeline. It cannot be done in 1 or 2 years. So that is what needs to change in general about Indian conservation. And also there's a danger in us focusing only on the large and charismatic species, lion, tiger, elephant, snow leopard, and so on. I think our overall conservation has to become much more inclusive, both from plant, animal, insect, all kinds of species and habitats, and also local communities. And we should be serious. You cannot say today I will develop, tomorrow I will conserve. That day, that decade is gone. We should not allow any further degradation of our natural habitat.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, quick question. என்னோட நம்ம கேட்கணும்னு நினைச்சிருந்த கொஸ்டின் சார். நீங்க குழந்தையா இருக்க சமயம் எது இயற்கைக்கு மேல பாசம் வைக்கிறதுக்கு இவ்வளவு ஆர்வம் வச்சு கான்சர்வேஷனுக்குள்ள வர்றதுக்கு கிண்டில் பண்ண சின்ன இன்சிடென்ட், உங்க குழந்தை பருவத்துல நடந்த இன்சிடென்ட் எது உங்களை இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் கிண்டில் பண்ணுச்சு நேச்சர்ல?
Good question again, but in case I don't think it was a single incident. Now 1961 born, so next year I turn 60, and அந்த காலத்துல வந்து obviously no mobile phone, no internet, no television also, and primarily we would travel by third class train and things like that. One tata was in Kaladakurchi, Appa, and Amma was a railway doctor who used to get transferred every few years. And another railway colonies had large bungalows, big garden, were often outside large towns. So there was a lot of nature around. And Kaladakurchi, of course, you know, is part of rural India in those days. And Kaladakarmunda Andrai, Angala, holidays ku pordu undu. So exposure nariya irundhathu indha mari wild places, nature ku. And edo natural interest irundhathu. I used to primarily read books about animals and so on, and including comics like Tarzan, Phantom, and so on and so forth. In the school, there was a nice library which had books about nature. And then from about 5th or 6th class, I got a membership of the British Council Library. And primarily African and European and American wildlife. There was not so much. And the Indian wildlife, books. So, but wildlife conservation, wildlife biology, wildlife research, or career because there was nobody as a role model. You didn't know you could make a career. I'm the eldest son of 4 brothers. My father is the eldest son of his father. And there was an expectation I will become a medical doctor. And I had biology and interest in it. But one reason or the other, I didn't get admission. So I ended up doing a BSc in botany. And unfortunately, it was not taught very well. I ended up playing a lot of cricket for the university and so on. And so I became a marketing executive. But my parents were very clear that just stopping with a graduation is not good enough, that I had to study further. அப்படி அந்த மாதிரி எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணும்போது எங்க கிரிக்கெட் கிளப்ல மெட்ராஸ் தமிழ்நாடுவோட WWF ஆஃபீஸ் வாஸ் தேர். அங்கதான் பிரஸ்டன் அஹிமாஸை மீட் பண்ணேன். அவர் வந்து கொஞ்சம் ஃபீல்ட் ஒர்க்லாம் பண்ணி, அவர் பிகாம் கிராஜுவேட், அதனால அவருக்கு வைல்ட் லைஃப் அந்த காலத்துல படிக்க முடியல. பட் அவர் நிறைய ஃபீல்டு ஒர்க்லாம் பண்ணி நேச்சுரல் ஹிஸ்டரி அண்ட் இக்காலஜி பத்தி he had a good understanding. ஸோ நான் எனக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருந்ததுனால அவர்கிட்ட பேசும்போது அவர் அந்த காலத்துல வந்து ஜெர்சி வைல்ட் லைஃப் ப்ரிசர்வேஷன் ட்ரஸ்ட்ல ஒரு ஃபெலோஷிப் போய் இந்த டரல் இன்ஸ்டியூட்ல he had done field work there also, and Mauritiusல போய் he had done some field work on what was it, eco parakeet, and then வந்திருந்தார். ஸோ அவர் வந்து ஜிஞ்சில he was studying ஷஹீன் ஃபால்கன்ஸ். நான் ஒரு வாட்டி சொன்னேன் நீங்க போறீங்களே, நானும் வரட்டுமான்னு. அவர் கூட்டின்னு போனாரு. And then I realized how exciting, how fulfilling it was for me to spend time in the field. Not only I was in scouts and things like that, so நிறைய வெளியிலலாம் போறது உண்டு. But this going for nature observation, observing animals and birds, learning about them, and I felt very comfortable. This was really my first visit as an adult into the wild, and I didn't feel out of place or anything like that. I mean, you're not staying in a comfortable room. You're basically sleeping rough. You're eating packed food, stale food. You know, there is no closed toilet. But these are all things that did not prove to be an obstacle for me. Once எனக்கு இந்த மாதிரி இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்குன்னு தெரிஞ்ச அப்புறம் ஒரு வாட்டி அவர் பாயிண்ட் கலிமேர்ல ஒரு சப்ஸ்கிரைபர் கேம்ப் நடத்திருந்தார் WWFக்கு. நான் பாட்னி படிக்கிறதுனால சொன்னார், நீ வந்து எனக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ண முடியுமான்னு. ஓகேன்னு சொன்னேன். Anga vande BNHS had a field camp. They were ringing birds, and there were 2 master's students who were doing their master's project. Avanga valiya dhaan theriya vandhathu indha mari AVC college irukku. And then my parents were also extremely supportive. They said, "Nee padikradha, please go ahead." A marketing job avutittu I went there. So I'm not able to say there is one critical, inspiring incident. I think it was just an accumulation of experience, knowledge, a development of interest over many, many years, and the support of my people like Preston, my parents, my family, which allowed me to quit a paying job and get back to studies, and that too studying wildlife biology.
Sir, can I ask
That's
another doubt,
amazing,
sir?
sir. Ahmed, you can please also, sir. It's amazing. Sir, can you go back to the portal, the biodiversity portal?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Ahmed, at last you can ask your question, Ahmed.
Okay, sir.
Is it there?
Yeah, visible, sir.
Okay. So, one of the things that I was told is that over the last few months, these sessions are also helping you to observe diversity, observe nature, observe animals and plants. So I thought I should spend a few minutes to introduce you to India Biodiversity Portal. Please note the name, note the link. It is indiabiodiversity.org. Ninga Google portal, you will get this. Just spend some time, go and explore, see what information it has. I think you will get interested. But my request is not just to be interested, but also to start engaging with it, to start contributing to this. And I'll give you a quick introduction to the portal. So this is a participatory, meaning evvala pair join panna mudiyumo, that's better. And there are no Periyal, Chinnal in this. It is all about collaborative. And it is to gather as much information on Indian biodiversity and as well as to share this information to anybody who's interested. This portal has information on 58,000 species, nearly 1.5 million observations, and it currently has users of nearly 16,000 users. But in a country like India, that number should be more like 25-30 lakhs and not 15 or 16,000 users. And if people like you can start engaging, start using, start letting other people know about what India Biodiversity Portal does, what it is, I would be very, very grateful to you. So this is a quick timeline. Now I was director of ATREE when we started work on the India Biodiversity Portal. I was there with ATREE for about 2 years, and then this was launched in December 2018. So it is getting to be about 12 years old now. What does it do? It basically provides species information in a variety of forms. It gives you various observations related to time in the season, and more importantly, it gives you a geographic location. So you can map la paakalam. So schematica eppadi describe pandrona, various types of information on biodiversity are available. People like you can contribute that, and once that is contributed, it's the portal's job to organize that information, which is also validated by expert. Nama yanake insects pati romba theriyadu, birds pati konjam theriyum, smaller mammals pati avla theriyadu, frogs, reptiles pati konjam theriyum. But if I see something which I don't know, if I'm able to capture a picture or write a description and I submit to the portal has groups of experts who are able to identify it for you. And then throw out that information for anybody who's interested. So the more we contribute, the better does the experience become for people seeking that information. It's very interactive. And we have the technology to make it. So as an example, if you look at the species page and the species patti nariya description irukum, and that description is contributed by experts, and this is categorized, this information on species is categorized over 60 different categories, and all of this follows international standards. So இது வந்து அப்படி இப்படி அவன் சொன்னாங்கிற information இல்லை, it's very authentic, it is cutting edge information. The other important module is the observation module. இங்க பாட்டம்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய பிக்சர்ஸ் இருக்கு. இது யாரோ எங்கேயோ பார்த்த picture, they've taken a photograph, and இப்போலாம் mobile phoneலயே camera இருக்கு, based on which they might know the species, they might not know the species, but they are able to submit it. And once you are not able to identify, or even if you are able to identify, நீங்க வந்து date கொடுக்கணும், உங்க பேர் என்னன்னு சொல்லணும், எங்க photo எடுத்தேன்னு சொல்லணும். That's the kind of information that is required. And again, you see a whole series of images here. Some are about plants, some are about caterpillars, some are insects. There's a flower there, there's a beetle there, there's a dragonfly. So quite a variety of information that is coming through. It can be either an image, it can either be a video, even sound recording. If a frog call, bird call, and the Mari recording can be submitted. So inga vande idu vande rat snake oda picture. Once you submit this, the technology allows us to immediately add information to the rat snake species page, and based on location you give, add that to the map. So inga itana per information kuduthanaala parunga eppadi engangalla irukku, and based on that you're able to build the distribution range of the species and time. Observations vande endha maasathula jaasti irukku, endha maasathula kammi irukku. So North India different or South India different or because North India and South India climate is also different. So if you see now, you can see that the information is building up. I told you we have about 1.5 million observations now. Some years we do better, some years not so good. But 2020 has been a really good, I know 4 masa 3 masa irukku, but adile it is one of the highest years of contribution that we've got. There are certain people who've been contributing enormous numbers. Ivar Chief Red Earth nearly 10,000 observations ஒரே ஆளுக்கு contribute பண்ணிருக்கார். இங்க பாருங்க கடைசில Agnes Jose இந்த வருஷம் தான் he started contributing, already 900 contributions. So people are really doing very well. Many people have been contributing for many years now. More and more people are joining. So I would earnestly request all of you to explore the portal and start engaging with and start contributing to it. Information பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய வந்து arthropods, நிறைய செடி பத்தி, birds பத்தி, which இதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் கம்மியா இருக்கு. But these also information will number in the thousands. This is how the information is currently spread out through country. There are large gaps, especially in eastern, central, and western India. South India very good, especially along the Western Ghats, Kerala and Karnataka. Tamil Nadu coastal area irukku. Rest of the area, southern districts also can do much better. And statewide information, pathina Tamil Nadu is third highest. Kerala, Karnataka are the top contributors so far to the poll. So, நீங்க கொடுக்கிறது வந்து raw data in the form of observations. If you're able to identify the species, descriptive data, some documents, and of course images, then you have the portal has the experts who validate, who curates the information, and technology side and administration side also we have people, and it's an interactive process that I told you. And then you get from each of these contributions aggregation, validation, curation, a very organized output which can then be used by a wide variety of people. It's a collaborative effort. Many institutions are involved, and I would urge all of you to spread the word in your schools, in your friends, in your family, so that more and more people can join this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We can take few questions based on...
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, as far as you're okay with time, I'm fine to answer all questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Ahmed, anyone you can...
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, are tigers present in Kanyakumari district, sir?
Yes.
Okay,
Western Ghats.
Sir,
Western Ghats.
Okay, sir.
You can ask few questions based on IBP. Indian Biodiversity portal.
Sir, we can download the app or we can directly access to the web?
Download the app Play Store la irukpa. We don't have a iOS version, that is Apple ku kedaiyadhu, but Android ku irukku. You can both download it on your laptop as well as your mobile.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions from the participants? Rajashakti, if you want any question to be asked, you can ask. Rajashakti, நீங்க சார் கிட்ட டைரக்டாவே கேட்கலாம். உங்களுக்கு எது புரியலையோ அதை டைரக்டாவே கேட்கலாம்.
Sir, I can't understand what to do in Biodiversity India.
Okay. இது வந்து நம்ம தனியா பேசுறது பெட்டர், பட் ஐ வில் ட்ரை அண்ட் கிவ் யூ a quick update. இது வந்து இட்ஸ் a digital portal. ஸோ ஆமத் கேட்ட மாதிரி அந்த ஆப்பை நீங்க டவுன்லோட் பண்ணணும். நீங்க டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிட்டு இஃப் யூ பிகம் அ ரெஜிஸ்டர்ட் யூசர், இல்லைன்னா கூட யூ கேன் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர். யூ ஷுட் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் ஃபர்ஸ்ட். ஒவ்வொரு நீங்க எப்படி வெப்சைட் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணுவீங்களோ அந்த மாதிரி யூ ஷுட் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் தி இந்தியா பயோடைவர்சிட்டி போர்ட்டல். தென் யூ ஷுட் ட்ரை டு கான்ட்ரிபியூட். நீங்க வந்து ஏதாவது உங்க வீட்டுல வந்து ஒரு எறும்பு பாக்குறீங்க, ஒரு பல்லி பாக்குறீங்க, ஒரு ஸ்பைடரை பாக்குறீங்க, ஆர் வெளியில ஒரு மரம் இருக்கு, ஆர் ஒரு மரத்துல பூ இருக்கு, நீங்க என்ன நேச்சர்ல என்ன பாக்குறீங்களோ அத போட்டோ எடுத்து யூ கேன் அப்லோட் ஆஸ் an observation. and observation upload பண்ணும்போது you should give the date, you should give the location. Now most phones geolocate. So நீங்க போட்டோ எடுத்தாலும் அந்த போட்டோலயே latitude longitude இருக்கும். ஸோ நீங்க லொகேஷன் கொடுக்கணும்னு கூட கிடையாது. உங்க லொகேஷன், உங்க பேரு, டேட்டு அந்த இமேஜ் அனுப்பிச்சுட்டு உங்களுக்கு அதோட பேரு தெரிஞ்சா you can give its name. If not unidentified போட்டீங்கன்னா அங்க back endல there are experts who will identify them and come back and tell you this is this species, இதான் common name, தமிழ்ல இந்த பேரு அப்படின்னா they will give you. and இந்த ஸ்பீசிஸ் முன்னாடியே ஒரு 10 பேர் ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணி அப்சர்வேஷன் அப்லோட் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்கன்னா you can also explore and see those images so that you get a better idea and understanding of the species. இது வந்து ரொம்ப சுருக்கமா சொல்லியிருக்கேன், பட் நீங்க அதை எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணுங்க, உங்களுக்கு நல்லா தெரியும் என்ன பண்ணணும்.
Okay, sir, I understand.
Yeah, thank you participants for your very interactive questions. Sir, it is amazing, sir. You spend the time, such a wonderful time with us. To formally say a vote of thanks, Madhivanan I request Madhivanan to say the vote of thanks. Now, Madhyana, please, yours, the coordinator of ACC.
Thank you, Anthony. Actually, ரொம்ப இந்த 2 மணி நேரம் ரொம்ப ஒரு நல்ல ரவி சார் எப்பவும் பார்த்தோன்னா அந்த 2010 பண்ணோம். அப்போ ரவி சார் வந்துருந்தாங்க, திருநெல்வேலியில பண்ணிட்டு நம்ம மணிமுத்தார் நம்ம சென்டருக்கு வந்தாங்க. ஒரு ரவி சார் பிளஸ் நீங்க நட்ட மரம் இருக்கு சார், நீங்க மகவாட்ரி பிளான் பண்ணீங்க, நல்ல பெருசா அந்த மரப்பு நல்லா வந்திருக்கு. அந்த மகவாட்ரியில நேற்று கூட அதுல ஒரு சிக்கரா ஒண்ணு வந்து உட்கார்ந்து அவரு அந்த அப்போதான் பார்த்தது. அதோட மட்டும் இல்லாம நம்ம கள்ளக்குறிச்சி வழியா போகணும்னா எப்ப பார்த்தாலுமே யாராவது எங்க கூட எங்கேயாவது வந்திருந்தா கூட அந்த கள்ளக்குறிச்சியில ஒரு ரவி சார் வீட்டை காமிச்சுதான் சாரோட வீடு, ரவி செல்லம் சாரோட வீடு எல்லாத்தையும் நாங்க எல்லாத்தையும் பேசிட்டு இருப்போம் சார். ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருந்தது. சார் வந்து லைனை பத்தி பேசினாரு. என்னோட ஊரு சிங்கம்பட்டி, எங்க ஊர் பேர்ல சிங்கம் இருக்கு. ஆனா எனக்கு சிங்கத்தை பத்தி பெரிய அளவுல தெரியாது. பட் இன்னைக்கு இந்த டாக் கேட்டதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் தெரிஞ்சிச்சு சிங்கத்தை பத்தி நிறைய வித்தியாசமான தகவல் எல்லாம் கிடைச்சது. இன்னும் நானும் கிரிக்கெட்ல ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டடா இருந்தேன் சின்ன வயசுல. அப்ப எங்க ஊர்ல எங்க கிரிக்கெட் டீமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா பிரைட் ஆஃப் யங் லைன்ஸ் வச்சிருந்தோம். ஆனா தெரியாது எங்களுக்கு அது பிரைடுனா என்னன்னே தெரியாது. நாங்க நேஷனல் ஜியோகிராஃபில அதை டிவி சேனல்ல பார்த்துட்டு அதுல வரும் பிரைட் ஆஃப், அதை வச்சுட்டு பிரைட் ஆஃப் யங் லைன்ஸ். இன்னைக்கு தான் எனக்கு உண்மையில அந்த பிரைடுனா அந்த சோசியல் யூனிட்டி எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சது. இது வரைக்கும் அது என்னென்ன தெரிஞ்சுக்க கூட நான் பார்க்கணும். ரொம்ப நல்ல ஒரு செஷன் சார். அடுத்து இன்னொரு ரவி சார் ரொம்ப பிடிச்சது என்னன்னா, சார் ரொம்ப பிஸியா இருப்பாங்க. பட் இந்த வருஷம் எனக்கு என்னோட பிறந்த நாளுக்கு வந்து திடீர்னு நைட் ஒரு 7 மணிக்கு சார் வந்து விஷ் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்க. எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருந்துச்சு. என்ன சார் வந்து நமக்கு எப்படி, ஏன்னா அது Facebookல சார் பார்த்துருப்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அதனால ரொம்ப அட்டாச்சா இருக்காங்க சார் வந்து நம்ம ACC சரி கள்ளக்குறிச்சி ஊர்ல இந்திய தேதி வரைக்கும் ரொம்ப அட்டாச்சா இருந்துட்டு இருக்காங்க. அந்த சார் எப்படி ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்கன்னு கூட நான் நிறைய பேர்ட்ட கேட்டிருக்கேன். உதாரணத்துக்கு விக்ரமாதித்யா கூட இங்க வந்திருக்கேன்னு சொன்னாரு. ரவி சார் அந்த இதுல அந்த பயோடைவர்சிட்டி கொலாபரேட்டிவ்ல வந்து நம்ம என்ன ஒரு மெயில் அனுப்பினாலும் ஈவன் லேட் நைட்லாம் கூட சார் உடனே ரிப்ளை பண்ணிருந்தாங்கன்னு ரொம்ப சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. தேங்க்யூ சார். அந்த மாதிரி இப்ப நிறைய அதிகமான வேலைகள் பண்ண போய் தான் சார் இந்த அளவுக்கு இன்னைய தேதி வரைக்கும் இந்த ஃபீல்டு வந்து சக்சஸ்ஃபுல்லா போக முடியுது. தேங்க்யூ சார். உண்மையிலேயே நம்ம இது நாள் வரைக்கும் சிங்கத்தை வந்து ஒரு வீரத்தின் அடையாளமா தான் தெரிஞ்சுட்டு இருந்தோம். நம்ம தமிழ் இலக்கிய இங்கிலீஷ் நம்ம தமிழ்லையும் சரி, இவன் நம்ம தமிழ் சினிமாக்கள்ல கூட பார்க்கலாம். சிங்கம் பார்ட் 1 பார்ட் 2 பார்ட் 3 எடுத்தது பெரிய சக்கப்போடு போட்டுச்சு. சிங்கத்தை காட்டுல பார்த்திருப்ப, சூளை பார்த்திருப்ப, சர்க்கஸ்ல பார்த்திருப்ப, நேர்ல பார்த்திருக்கியான்னு கேட்பாங்க. அந்த மாதிரி டைலாக்ல எல்லாம் கேட்டிருக்கோம். பட் இந்த சிங்கத்தை பத்தி உண்மையான தகவல் வந்து அதோட ரொம்ப அருமையான தகவல் வந்து இன்னைக்கு ரொம்பவே நாங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டோம் சார். அடுத்து சாரோட முயற்சியில வந்து அந்த டிரான்ஸ்லொகேஷன் சார் எவ்வளவு கஷ்டப்பட்டு இருக்காங்கன்னு நமக்கு இன்னைக்கு சொன்னாங்க. அது சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் கொடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் கூட குஜராத் கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து கொடுக்க முடியலன்ட்டு சீக்கிரத்திலேயே அது ஒரு நல்ல விஷயம் நடக்கும்னு எல்லாரும் நம்பிக்கை வைப்போம். அதுக்கு சாரோட நம்ம எல்லாரும் கண்டிப்பா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாரும் துணை இருக்கணும். அடுத்து இன்னும் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் கேட்ட எல்லா கேள்விக்கும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா சார் வந்து ரொம்ப பொறுமையா நிறைய பதில் சொன்னாங்க. அது ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸும் கேட்டீங்கன்னா ரொம்ப நல்ல கொஸ்டின்ஸ் எல்லாம் கேட்டிருந்தீங்க. உண்மையிலேயே நம்ம அந்த ஃபாரஸ்ட் டீக்ரேடேஷன் பத்தி நல்லாவே கேள்வி கேட்டிருந்தீங்க. சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி இன்னும் ஃபாரஸ்ட் வந்து ஃபர்தரா டீக்ரேடேஷன் ஆகவே கூடாது. அதுக்கு எல்லாமே மக்களோட கையில தான் இருக்கு. அது மட்டும் இல்லாம நம்ம ஃபாரஸ்ட் கன்சர்வேஷனுக்கும் சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி ஃபாரஸ்ட் அனிமல்ஸ் மட்டும் இல்லாம மக்களையும் சேர்ந்து தான் பண்ண முடியும்னு சார் அதுல ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருக்காங்க. அதுதான் எல்லாரோட கருத்துக்களும் அதுவாக தான் இருக்க முடியும். இந்த 2 மணி நேரம் எங்களோட இந்த இன்விடேஷனை எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இங்க வந்து நீங்க உங்களோட இந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் எங்களோட ஷேர் பண்ணதுக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி சார். நாங்க இது உண்மையிலேயே இந்த வைல்ட் வர்ச்சுவல் வைல்ட் எஜுகேஷன் ப்ரோக்ராம்ல இந்த ஒரு டாக் வந்து ரொம்ப ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு லெஜெண்ட் டாக். இது வந்து ரொம்ப ஒரு சந்தோஷமான விஷயம். நம்ம ஊர் பகுதி கள்ளக்குறிச்சியிலிருந்து வந்து நமக்கு இந்த ஒரு அருமையான ஒரு டாக் கொடுத்த டாக்டர் ரவி செல்லம் அவர்களுக்கு எங்கள் ATREE நிறுவனத்தின் சார்பாக நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறோம். அடுத்து இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் வந்து ரவி சார் எங்களுக்கு பேசி ரவி சார் இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் கூட்ட டாக்டர் கணேஷ் அவர்களுக்கும் எங்களுடைய மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அடுத்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில கலந்துகிட்ட அத்துணை மாணவர்களுக்கும், அடுத்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை நம்ம முகநூல் Facebook வழியாக இணைந்த அனைத்து நண்பர்களுக்கும் என்னுடைய மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். அடுத்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில நம்ம ATREE-ACCC ஸ்டாஃபும் நிறைய பேர் இதில் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணாங்க. அனைவருக்கும் மனமார்ந்த நன்றிகள். மீண்டும் அடுத்த வாரத்துல நம்ம எல்லாரும் அடுத்த நிகழ்ச்சி நம்ம எல்லாரும் சந்திப்போம். தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ ரவி சார். தேங்க்யூ.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you சார்.